The reason why I'm doing this video is to talk about work situations. A lot of people feel like they don't have to work to survive. They don't have to do what they have to do to survive, like hustle, work, try to get something. Let me be real with you. Work is probably your only way of really hustling and getting what you need. Because whether you work for somebody else or you working for yourself, nevertheless you're working. Don't ever forget that. But a lot of times, in order to build up the revenue to work for yourself, you're going to have to go work up under somebody. Let's talk about that too. I'm not saying that every employer is going to be fair. Trust me, I'm one of those equality, I deserve equal right, equal pay, fair pay, treat me right, do what you're supposed to do the right way, right? Type people. But a lot of times you're going to run into people that have no respect for you, no respect for what you stand for, and no respect for what you're doing. You're not going to be able to just quit the job. Oh, you disrespectful. I done been written up a few times off of other people disrespect as being the type of person to say, hey, I'm just not going to take it. I'm going to tell you that you're wrong, because if I don't tell you that you're wrong for your behavior and your conduct, you will never receive it. You will never understand where I'm coming from, because right now you're a little docile and you don't understand what you're doing, but there is consequences even when we're docile. So staying aware, making sure that you're understanding that the people that are talking to you been in your situation already, and they're talking to you, trying to mentor you through it. So I'm telling you now, you're working a job, the pay isn't fair, their behavior isn't fair. Don't just up and quit. Find you something that's better. Try to find you something that's more geared towards what you want to do, or whatever the case may be. Sometimes we have to go to school while we're going through unfair treatment in employment situations. Yes, of course, you probably done called on them already and called the equal employment opportunity lines and fair employment and all this different stuff, and none of them do anything. They feel like you should have joined the union. A lot of times the unions work with an ulterior motive other than what you see. So they're also aiding and abetting. So a lot of times we're stuck in systems such as the one now, that one hand washes the other in doing dirt. And that's how they stay clean. So one hand washes the other with them doing dirt. Okay, who you telling to is covering up for the one that's doing the dirt. So you have no one to go to and actually expose the criminal behavior, the injustice behavior, the inequality, because all of them working together. All of them working together. So you don't, and I tell people this all the time, we don't have time for not working. We don't have time for setbacks. We don't have time for layoffs. You understand what I'm saying? I got to work year round. I can't take time off and just say, okay, well, look, I can just chill, everything paid, everything's great. My money don't run like that. It just doesn't. You know what I'm saying? And to tell people this, they're not understanding, because a lot of people feel like, okay, well, if I made $75,000 a year, I can provide and take care of myself. Yes, you can provide. You can take care of yourself. But where your growth is going to be. Remind you, I'm not even making that. I'm making half that. In fact, it's under half that. So you can understand the struggle is real with me. And I tell people this all the time. I say, a lot of times we get 75,000 and we say, okay, well, I'm good. Are you really? Are you really where you want to be with 75,000? No, you're not. Are your means of living with $75,000? You want $1,000 to rent or mortgage every month. And to be totally honest with you, if you go over that, you will have overspent. You still have to cover healthcare issues and stuff like that. And I tell people this all the time. See, when they see us, they think that every woman's on welfare. Every woman's on food stamps. Let me tell you something. I'm not on welfare. I'm not on food stamps. I don't even get Medicare. I am so independent right now because I don't even get insurance. I have to use alternative means of getting insurance and getting my medical needs taken care of. Not that I don't care for my medical health. Of course, I love my medical health, but knowing that the robbery is taking place and they robbing the hood and Robin Hood just stealing from the poor people, because they told you Robin Hood steals from the rich, they don't steal from the poor. The Robin Hood steal from everybody. It'll steal from you, your mama, your daddy, or whatever. I might end up in prison because of my YouTube channel because I'm gonna expose all of it. They steal from any and everybody. They don't care who they steal from. They don't care if they steal from you, your mama, your daddy, whoever they can steal from, they're gonna steal from. So a lot of times we're dealing with the thefts after the robbery of pay already. So you robbed and paid. You're dealing with theft. Right now, estimated cost for survival in my community would probably range from $75,000, and that's only for you to survive. $75,000 a year. That's just for you to survive. You're not gonna do no more than survive with all your needs being met. And honestly, as human beings, we have a lot of needs. With all your needs being met, with you being in a good location, good environment, everything, it's going to cost you about $75,000. And they're not going to tell you this. They're not going to tell you that, and that's just for one person. Honestly, you may be able to do a little something for another person, a little something, but that's not really for two people. And they're not going to divulge this type of information to you because they don't have plans on you making $75,000 a year. They don't have plans on you making $50,000 a year or $45,000 or $40,000. So the actual means is for you not to make it. And that's real talk. And that's what their goals and agendas go towards right now. To keep you in poverty, to keep you poor, to keep you without. I remember I signed up for the BUI program. The BUI programs was this Ford program that said they will give you $4,000 a month. You can do whatever you want to do with that $4,000. But they wanted to do a program where they give you $4,000 a month. And the whole thing is they're going to check in with you and see what you did with the money. How did you spend the money? And were you able to better develop yourself with $4,000 a month? When I signed up for that program, I still haven't heard anything from them. But I can tell you this much. They offered that same program, that BUI program, to inmates in prison where I live at. They said it was better for them to have it instead of us who were regular citizens. And that's real talk. That's what we were told. But it was a forced program, and the whole purpose of the program is just to say, hey, if the money really gets to the people and the money is spent wisely and productive, what can't the people do? That's where the problem's really going on. This is what's really going on. The money isn't getting to the people, and the people really can't execute a plan the way they want to. Now, a lot of times you're hearing about these stimulus programs and all of this, and they're giving out to every American $5,000. Let me be real with you. To kill the deficit, we did an estimation that if every American gave $2 a year, we would never go into debt. That deficit would be destroyed and we wouldn't have a deficit. So what make you all think that the government can afford to give $5,000 a month to every American when $2 would kill the debt? So obviously there one or two things going on. There can't be a debt. There's too many lies. We smothered up under a whole bunch of lies. that people aren't really talking about. And the real problem is we have to begin to start having a thought process. They already told you ain't got no IQ. But the true matter of the situation is you got an IQ, you got intellectual knowledge, you got knowledge, but this is the thing. You got brain probers that go in, probe your brain, and try to stop you from thinking. So their whole agenda is to steal knowledge, cipher knowledge from you, and stop you from thinking. Because your thought process is seeing so much further than what they're expecting of you. When we sit up there and we talk about college is nothing but you learning different trades. Trust me, if you follow the IXL program, calculus and stuff like that, trust me, the farthest you get is like trigonometry. They haven't really extended mathematics that far, especially in our community. Even for mathematicians, the mathematics isn't extended to the point where you're just extremely brilliant. It's just like all these limitations that's been placed on you, you can reach little at a time, but you're going to definitely reach them. Because if you just take a little, trust me, turtle, I am that. If you just do a little something at a time and stay consistent with it, you have already outdid most of the competition, most of the people that send up there talk about, okay, you can't. And this is real talk because they are so limited. They try to limit you, and with them trying to limit you, they limit themselves. You are infinite being, but because they're placing those limitations on you, all you have to do is stay consistent and persistent. See, I never knew persistency means, okay, even though I'm facing opposition and resistance, to continue to plan and make plans to continue to see this thing through to the end. And that's what we're dealing with. So a lot of times, even with you working, with you doing certain stuff, you have to come up with ideas, come up with plans, come up with goals that you're setting for yourself and your household. The country got goals set for their household. Why don't you have none set for yours? Because you're not taught to protect your household. You taught to protect somebody else's own. I just now looked at my floor. I mop my jobs floor, but a lot of times I don't even get to mop and sweep my own. You have to really think now, okay, what I do for someone else, I need to start doing for myself. Because this is the mindset that they're trying to place into you. Okay, taking care of yourself is more important than anything else. But a lot of times we're so busy taking care of other stuff that we rarely get time to devote to ourselves, to our families, to our means. I'm not telling you to stop working. What I am telling you is to work with a plan, goal, agenda. Make sure that you include your family and the things that you need to do in that. Never let them stop you from having, because you're not going to have working, and you're not going to definitely have not working. A man that don't work don't eat. So you're going to have to come up with plans on how you're going to execute certain stuff, how you're going to get stuff done. Write it down. Write it down. Yes, I know you're going to go through opposition. That's the whole purpose of them telling you. Be persistent. Sometimes you're going to be delayed. I was delayed for a couple of years. I wanted to do so many different things. Guess what? I didn't have a laptop. I didn't have this. I didn't have that. I didn't have the tools that I need. So a lot of people are sending you into war and you ain't even got a gun. How are you sending me into war and I don't have a gun? Because they didn't mean for you to survive. When you the only survivor and you the designated survivor from here on out, they pissed off mad because guess what? I survived opposition because you didn't plan for me to survive. I survived by just staying out of the way. I survived by just doing what I have to do. I survived. I was treated like hot garbage, but I survived. And this is something that we have to now program and embed in our kids. The same ones, them naysayers. I remember one time working this job and the supervisor, he was like real down on another supervisor, but the other supervisor was under him. How about eventually The supervisor that was under him, who was taking all that nasty talk that he was talking to him, taking all that crap that he was talking, eventually ended up with his position. You never know where you're going to go. Sometimes we got to humble ourselves. Sometimes we got to just stay in alignment because it's so much going on, so much opposition going on, so many issues and stuff like that. Smile through it. It hurts, but you're going to have to work through it. It hurts. These called growing pains. It hurt to grow. It hurt to grow now in this season. Usually growth is just a natural thing and it's common. But now in this season, because you got opposition, you have to be persistent and have growing pains. So it hurts me to go to work. I don't really want to work in the situations or in the turmoils that I'm working in. I really don't want to go through what I'm going through, but I'm going to go through it anyway. Because guess what? I would go through way more if I didn't have a source of revenue. How many of you know that the average American only has 2 weeks saved up of pay? Anything beyond 2 weeks, they would go into default. 2 weeks. And this with proper strategizing, proper planning. Like I said, the average American has to bring in $75,000. Well, in my community, I would say $75,000 a year to actually be productive. I'm bringing in half that, trying to bring forth productivity. I can show you my apartment. I got one room, a bathroom, and a little small kitchen area where they call it a kitchen, and that's costing me almost $700 a month. And that's considered good because I have my own bathroom, because they have places where you have to pay $400 a week in my location, in my community. $400 a week. And all you get is a room and you have to share a bathroom. You don't even get a kitchen. Are you doing the mathematics? It is never easy when you're dealing with opposition. Guess what? My last check was I think $728. $748 I got. My rent is $700. Anytime your rent is almost 50% of your income, you are guaranteed to fail. You are already guaranteed and ineligible. You are guaranteed to fail because your rent is 50% of your income. 50% to 60% of your income, you are guaranteed to fail. So you cannot use a whole check for your rent. You will never survive. Rent is supposed to be only 20 to 30% of your income. And the whole purpose of rent being 20 to 30% of your income. And I'm going to tell you something. Some of you guys are on Section 8. And Section 8 does this on purpose. Section 8 Housing Authority. A lot of you guys been on Housing Authority. You probably was on Housing Authority for a couple of years, right? The moment you begin to work, they start wanting 60% of your income. It's not supposed to be 60%. It's supposed to be 20 to 30% of your income. The whole purpose of you growing self-sufficient is so that you don't need the system. But they know if they put it at 60%, at some point you will fall into default and need them again. And this stuff that they don't talk about. So you have to work. And what I did, and this is what I'm doing now, I got off of Section 8. I don't get Section 8. I've been off of Section 8 for God knows how many years now. After I started working, doing correction work at the prison, I kind of like let that go. I think I was on it a couple of years after I was at the prison, and I let it go completely. I found like a modest place to live. I think back then I had a 3-bedroom for like $695. 3-bedroom, 2-bath for $695. Water was included. And I stayed there, and I was making pretty pretty okay. I was bringing home about 1,300 every 2 weeks, and I don't even think it was 1,300. I think it was 1,000 every 2 weeks, and I let that place go because that back then that was the cost of the times at that point, and I let that place go. I paid up my rent. I had my rent sometimes paid up for months in advance because I worked a lot of hours. That's another tactic I use when I'm working. When I'm working, I tend to want to do overtime. I tend to want to do a lot of hours. Now I'm being met with resistance because a lot of the companies you work for now don't want you with overtime. They don't want you with certain types of pay. So you have to sit up here and you have to find companies that will aid you in overtime, aid you in your pay. So a lot of times I work overtime. I come early, I leave late. So I'm the first person like that comes maybe 2 hours ahead of time. I might have to be to work at 2 o'clock. I'm there at 10, 11 o'clock. Why are you there that early? I'm there that early for opportunity purposes so that I can get the pay. Okay. I don't have to stay to assist with certain stuff, but I will stay an hour or two after my time of staying. Why are you staying an hour or two after your time? This is to assist them, give them the help that they need, and this is for me to have overtime or have that extra money, that extra pay, so that I can be able to do the things that I need to do for myself. I tell people this all the time. So companies have to be aware of certain stuff too. Although you have a few employees that work overtime, pay attention. Companies are under terrorist attacks in these seasons. So the terrorist attack is going in, messing with their payroll system. How did they get access to their payroll system? They got access to their payroll system because they have already infiltrated a payroll company who had the same system. Or they may even be a payroll company. Sometimes we don't look at terrorists that way, but they may be a payroll company and they gain access through the fact that you're using their software or their software equipment. And sometimes you feel like, hey, how did we get this much overtime? And all your supervisor have everybody in compliance. But what you're not understanding, you have ghost employees. And these ghost employees, they've been paying money to and got your payroll system looking crazy. Like as if you just doing God knows what, but it's covered up because these are ghost employees who you keep giving pay to, but they're not there. They ain't never worked. They can even use ghost employees as old employees. So they're using probably old employees who haven't worked in your system for a long time. Their social security number, their everything. And you're routing money to bank accounts that don't even exist. Or you might be routing it to your employee's old bank account and they have already stole the funding because they have access to the bank. Employees innocent, but at the same time, they're using these employees as ghost employees to mess with your payroll. When you do payroll, payroll adds up to one thing. When corporate does payroll, payroll's adding up to a whole nother number. But because you have never done comparisons, you can't tell. I tell people this all the time. Never take the complaints of your employees. If your employees call and saying, hey, it's something wrong with your system, you have people that have put pythons, we call it like a snake. But it's really not a snake. Some call it snakes, some call it worms, some call it parasites, or whatever the case may be. It is what it is. But it only rears its head maybe every blue moon. And you have to be consistent because the moment you see it and you report it, your whole system has to be broken down and analyzed section by section. Your whole system. Your whole system has to be analyzed section by section to try to find it. It's like having a snake in your house, right? A snake can live in your house for years and years and you won't even know it in there. It lives years and years. Like, there are things sometimes living in your house that you don't even know lived in your house, and you living in there with it. You get what I'm saying? So it lives years and years and years and years. And if you don't take care of it the first time you see it, you won't ever see it again. So this is a mindset that you have to develop too as a corporation or a company, because terrorist attacks, they don't just terrorize the government. They terrorize the citizens of that government. So when you start hearing them talk about your government, we don't like the United States. United States this, United States that. Let me tell you something. You live in the United States. If you ain't for the United States, if you're not for your governmental system, if you're not for the places that you stay, if you're not for the communities that you stay in, trust me, you hear them talking about it, they don't care. They're going to sack you. They're going to sack that community too. Those are your terrorists. But you may hear people say, man, this is unfair. This is unright. That's a whole nother talk compared to them saying, hey, we're going to do this and we're going to do that. Understand the tactics of what they're planning to do. Understand the tactics, because sometimes you have the patriots who are trying to repair and build back up America. And these are people that believe in America. They want to rebuild America, but they know America is in shambles. They know the matriarch system is in shambles. They know a lot of different things are in shambles. And they have to sit up there and basically protect themselves and build a small group of protectors, right? That's basically geared towards protecting themselves. Yes, they do believe in the law. Yes, they believe in the original architects and the building of the right communities and vineyards and stuff like that. And sometimes they have to even think of ways to actually stop some of the chaos. So it's a difference between a person saying, I'm trying to stop the chaos, and a person saying, look, I'm ready to destroy and terrorize certain stuff. They may sound the same, but their strategies are totally different as for motives, agendas, and everything like that. But be careful, because a lot of terrorists come and tell you good agendas, but their job is to terrorize. And we're waking up more and more to this. So be careful what parties you associate yourself with, what groups you're associating yourself with, what people you are functioning and socializing with, because it will ultimately cost you in the end. Like I said, when you have employees, they come to you, hey, something's wrong. Don't just ignore them. It is a call for you to act to safeguard your company. It's a call for you to act to safeguard your people. It's a call for you to act to okay, it may start with them just stealing stuff out your register. Guess what? The company gets charged for credit card thefts. So how long has credit card numbers been getting taken from your companies? Okay. Have your employees ever complain about this? A lot of times that stuff is deleted out of the system. You can have complaint and they'll delete it out of the system. So they'll say, well, we had no complaints by any of our employees, even if they had 1 million complaints. Like right now in our community, you have complaints about women being raped. They're not saying that they're raped by ghosts, but they're saying that they're being raped. You have people that have reported to commissioners. They have reported to law enforcement that they have a solicitation code within those communities for prostitutes through the governmental organizations or through certain things. They're trying to solicit for prostitutes. And these people are saying that they have been raped. You disregard it because you cannot find certain things within your system. Does not mean that it's not there. You have black markets. You have other forms of certain solicitations and stuff like that to aid and abet it. Another thing, a lot of times in those communities where they have the marijuana dispensaries, they have the drug dispensaries locations, you have to be careful. Some consider this medication. Cocaine is used to create medication. After a while, you'll start seeing them trying to sell that out of those same marijuana dispensaries, out of those same dispensary locations. Now, I hear a lot of people say, well, it's legalized, it's marijuana, it's legalized, and we can smoke as much marijuana as you want to. Hey, they can legalize crack too. You can smoke as much crack as you want to too. It's just an overnight process, a stroke of the wrist. Stroke of a wrist. Are you going to sit there and you're going to smoke crack knowing that you will become a crackhead? But it's legal. At some point, once you know the damages of something, once you know something's going to cause you harm, you have to make sure that you are not partakers in that harm. Nobody's going to do it for you. Nobody's going to assist or aid you in doing that. You have to do it for yourself. Hopefully these words encourage you guys. Stay blessed, stay wonderful, stay great.